I'm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Anatomy of a Movie. And we got Wolf of Wall Street edition. I'm John Comerford. I'm joined in studio by Marisa Serafini.
Hello.
And Phil Svitek.
Welcome, welcome.
And in the booth is Stephen Lemieux.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, so Wolf of Wall Street, let's get to overall thoughts. What is it, the Wolf of Wall Street? Is it more, what did the wolf or the fox say? What?
This was amazing.
It was amazing, okay.
It was amazing.
Not for just the obvious reasons for you?
We'll talk about this more in controversy. Yeah. Was it satire? Was it glorifying?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it blended nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it's not letting me want to do drugs, but it does.
Okay.
In some sense, it does glorify them.
Oh, in a sense, I mean, come on, it does. But go ahead.
I thought it was interesting how they portrayed the Wall Street kind of side, even though at the beginning mostly it was like the lifestyle in Wall Street and how they conduct business, but like how even their workflow conducted their lives, and I thought that was interesting how they portray that.
Well, I thought there was so much of this movie to like, and at 3 hours there was so much of it I didn't need. So,
well, we'll talk about that.
It was quite
soon.
uneven for me, but truly enjoyable. I mean, segments and sequences, I mean, just a lot of fun. And others, I'm just going, what are they doing?
Well, before we get into this movie specifically, we've done a few movies now for Anatomy of a Movie, and I want to talk about real fast the growing trend.
Right.
This movie is based off of true events.
Yep. A memoir by Jordan Belfort.
Yes, Jordan Belfort's life. And, we've done Dallas Buyers Club. We've done American Hustle. We've done Saving Mr. Banks. We've done Captain Phillips. We've done Rush. We've done Nebraska? No.
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
Inside Louis Day.
That's an original.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know it's not based on anybody
fair enough.
Particular. But the point is made. The growing trend is
that I bring up these movies specifically because they're the ones that are kind of now with award season. They're getting the nods.
Mm-hmm. So the argument is, or the discussion would be, okay, is Hollywood making more movies? Obviously they are. They're making more movies that already have audiences going in because nobody wants to take the big bet on an original thing. They want to know that there's an audience set up for it already before they put
And what I like is that, what I love about this movie is that real life is already so interesting, and when you can examine it and look at it and, perhaps insert some humor to it, it can make for great viewing.
I agree, and it gives, because the audience we go to movies to escape from reality, but watching other people's lives and kind of their biography on screen, that voyeuristic viewpoint, it makes it interesting, and I think a lot of people are really gravitating towards that because we like other people's lives. We learn from their actions and mistakes and how to come from that. So seeing that different lifestyle that's not to theirs is probably appealing to a lot of audiences nowadays.
And maybe I'll go on the flip side and say that I appreciate the original thought, the original idea, because everything is derivative these days. It's all referential to something else. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I think there's room for the original, the different thought, that's something that isn't already in the marketplace. And I would appreciate those, and I miss those as much as I like the other.
Well, what I like about this movie is that, I mean, in essence, by making it, it speaks to the point of history does repeat itself. And so perhaps by showing this, and we'll talk about The Last Shot, perhaps it won't.
Well, no, we should, absolutely. And I think, since you brought it up, there's no way I can not say it. I mean, a lot of the controversy on this movie is that Martin Scorsese didn't take a point of view on it. I should say, I don't know if he did or he didn't. I'm saying people are arguing that they wanted there to be more of a comeuppance for Belfort or some sort of downsizing of him in a sense, more than there was. Because they don't like the idea that all this excess went unchecked and then didn't really have any kind of repercussions, and they wanted they thought he was glorifying it rather than satirizing it.
But you have an argument for that, which is I want you to explain
Well,
to
that's
viewers.
true. But my point. Where was I going with my point?
Okay, I'll say your point if
Yeah.
you're not going to say your point. No, the point being that.
Oh, history repeating itself. Yeah, because this is what crazes me. We didn't really do anything about the excesses in Wall Street. Nobody's been indicted. There hasn't really been any charges brought upon anybody. Certainly nobody's been tried and convicted of anything. So everybody's complaining that Martin Scorsese didn't put something in his movie that wasn't there in real life. If we have anything to blame, anybody to blame, it's the society as a whole. We didn't call to task our representatives to put these people on trial for what they did in the.
I mean, what's funny
so why should he?
To me, in that sense, what's so true and realistic, there's the Matt Damon documentary, I think it's called The Inside Man.
Inside Job, I believe.
Inside Job, that's it.
Yeah.
And the moments when they're kind of being questioned of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, can I have that donut?
Yeah, exactly.
It literally watched The Inside Job because there's moments exactly like that. I don't know. Can I have that donut?
Exactly.
And so it just amazes me in that sense. And so I like it in the sense that it is about being real. And, that's what this movie does. It forces you to see what the reality is.
Yeah, because the reality was that I don't think anybody that was involved in the Belfort or any illegal activity on Wall Street cares about whether or not it's right or wrong. They know it's wrong because that's why they're hiding it. They know it's illegal, but they don't care about that part of it. They just care that they don't get caught.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what they portrayed. And then if they did get caught, they get a a cush deal in some minimum security prison, and then they go out lecturing and that kind of thing. That's what always happens. So I don't know what people are complaining about because that's exactly what went down in real life.
Yeah, but people don't want to accept real life.
Yeah, but if they should be mad at anybody, it's our representatives for not holding these people's feet to the fire.
Well, we'll certainly talk about the history and things like that.
So all right,
starting out,
let's get to how this thing became a movie.
Well, Brad Pitt and Leo fought over the rights to the story.
Yes, Jordan wrote the memoir, of course, and
two. There's Wolf of Wall Street and Catching the Wolf of Wall Street.
Right. Yeah. Didn't he write them both?
Right. Yeah, he wrote them both. But I'm saying there's two.
Yeah, there's two
books.
So, and of course, he spent some time in prison, minimum
22
security,
months.
22 months.
Which isn't a long time for all the things he did.
Yeah, it's kind of like a vacation, You would think that's probably as much time as he needed to dry out.
Yeah.
Probably.
And he was in prison. He was compelled to write, or should I say, what's the word? How do we say this?
He was tasked to write.
Yes.
Ironically, by Tommy Chong.
Of all people, yeah. There you go.
Who apparently they still remain friends to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's who told him, like, hey, dude,
you should write on a memoir.
And which is funny because it's said so many times of the book, and Terence Winter, who wrote the script, admits this. Like, it's just so funny, and so it's ironic that Tommy recognized Jordan's humor.
Yeah,
and was
and
like,
he
okay.
should.
Write this down.
Chong, for those of you who don't know, he's Cheech and Chong fame, and the duo was a comedy duo. Anyway, but the other thing that's interesting is that, he's written it, and there's been all kinds of people saying, no, that didn't really happen. Well, actually, it did happen, and so they've been back and forth. Well, actually, it was worse. I mean, so there's so much all around the map on how much of the story is true. Certainly, what's on the screen mostly is in the memoir. So they were certainly true to the memoir. Now,
what's again, I forget if Leo said this or Terence Winter specifically, but just how relentless at the details, especially about himself, Jordan was willing to put into the book.
Absolutely. He didn't really, it doesn't seem like he held anything back. I mean, if he did, it's like, oh my God, if he held something back and wasn't revealing there, because it's pretty revelatory.
Yeah, they had no boundaries in the movie, and you can tell when they're partying and doing all these drugs and stuff. So, and there was that particular scene when, not to jump ahead, but he's in the car and he's driving back, and he thinks from the first part, and when he tells the audience that there was no scratches, but then in reality that he actually trashed his car. So it shows that this movie was from his perspective, and right from the beginning that he thinks nothing was wrong, but even though it ended up being worse than what he told everyone. Well,
since you just mentioned, I think that's something that I want to talk about. It is from his perspective, excuse me. And in fact, when we first started the movie, there's the red Lamborghini. I believe it's a Lamborghini. I know it's red, whatever. It's Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever it is. And he says, actually, no, it was a white one. So you even in you know from the outset that he's telling the story. And you also know by the way he's a salesman. Some people call him a salesman. Other people call him a huckster. Other people call him a con man. So it's his perspective. So whether or not it's all true is irrelevant because it's coming out of his mouth, and we already know he lies like crazy and kind of shades the truth. So whether or not it's actually true or certain things didn't happen, I don't know if that really has a bearing on whether or not we should care because it's his perspective of what took place.
You know, I mean, even the boat sinking, right?
Right. Certain things are verifiable.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't. Is it 100% accurate? No, but they have verified that the boat did sink. They were on their way to Italy. It was against the captain's wishes.
And the Italian Navy found them. They verified, of course, the helicopter roughly crashing into his home, not his home, but on his estate or whatever while he was stoned or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much true.
But I guess so Leo had read this book and he was just so fascinated by it that again he got into a bidding war with Brad Pitt, but he just it's unclear as to how he exactly won. Yeah, but
he outbid. That's the best we know.
But then so him and Martin Scorsese really wanted to make it. In fact, before Shutter Island, so Marty did work on the script beforehand, and unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
And he couldn't get a green light or funding. And from Warner Brothers, they kept waiting for production dates, and they couldn't get one. So finally, he said, "All right." When they went on to do Shutter Island, and then finally, Warner Brothers took it to Ridley Scott, offered it to him,
and that didn't go through.
No,
because I mean, especially at the onset, right? If this movie is the 5th collaboration between Leo and Marty, and Leo does have a producer role.
Yes.
On it. So I think Leo was set to do it with Marty. So even I think that it's not clearly stated, but I don't think he would have done it with Ridley. I don't think he has anything against Ridley.
No, not at all. But he really likes working with Martin.
And the whole thought was there. The studio's gonna water it down. And then when Warner Brothers did release it.
They let it go, so then
now it became independently financed.
Right,
and boom.
Red Granite picked it up, and then Martin was assured that, of course, your content is good. Whatever you want to do is fine.
Yes.
And then he came back on
Which
board.
Which is definitely evident on the screen.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, they certainly made the movie they wanted to make. They've been very clear about this, that they didn't want to, have anybody's hands on it other than theirs, and they got what they wanted, which is good for them. I mean, if you're gonna make a movie, wouldn't you want that? So.
Let's talk about. You want to talk about Terence Winter?
Yeah, let's bring him because obviously Martin. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say. I mean, what a fantastic screenwriter, or both of TV and film.
Boardwalk Empire, for those who don't know.
Among his recent works.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's and Boardwalk Empire, historical drama. Very close examination of. I don't know if you could call it a dark time in American history, perhaps. But yeah, he was the one who said, like, this feels too funny not to be narrated. Yeah, I don't know how you. I mean, I look at it now and I go, how would you have considered it any other way? It's so over the top and it's excess. You how do you not be funny about it? Yeah. How could anybody take it?
And he does a good job of embellishing, truth and kind of, as we said, glorifying and making it really interesting to watch, even though it's really, really nitty gritty.
So it was Terrence's idea, or he's the one that said, "Let's make this into a." He said Goodfellas, right? He wanted to write it like Goodfellas. Yeah, he wanted in that vein of. He said after reading the book that you just have to have this. Yeah. In there. In fact, if I'm read correctly, most of Leo's musings or narration to the audience is taken right from the book, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah. And there's some stuff that they did alter. For example, right, he was explaining IPOs. Right. Right. So initially, I think they made it very scientific in that sense. Exactly. And then said, they altered it. IPOs are. You just need to know we made $26 million. Exactly. That's true too, because that kind of who cares? It doesn't really matter.
And that was like perfect timing because me watching that, I see numbers. Just me as a person, I see numbers and like my brain automatically shuts off. And during that whole speech in his inner monologue, I'm like, yeah, numbers, I don't care. And then he cuts it with that funny line. I'm like, oh yeah, he totally gets the audience. It, like his inner monologue really speaks to the audience and adds humor to it.
But what I love is, just going off of that central idea that this is all about Jordan's story and it's going to kind of more or less be from his perspective, right? Even just visually and all that. And I like that. I mean, for me, when he hulks up with the spinach or his cocaine
and he
to
uses
save Jonah Hill's character.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, just visually, that was all about Jordan. And the few times that they did break were obviously very funny and very strategic. Him making with Emma.
Yeah.
Is he gonna make out with me?
Yeah. And then reverse. Yeah, exactly. So is that the only time they break the narration? Have somebody else say it? Because it was great.
I believe.
And
so.
then when he was talking to John Depardieu's character, the Swiss bank account.
Oh,
and
every once in a while they did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you gonna mess me, fuck
Right.
me over or something
Yeah.
like that? So
That
it
is
was
true.
a few people.
Yeah. Okay. That was great.
I loved all the voices in this movie because we got mostly Jordan's point of view, but then we kind of got into the minds of a little people's here and there too, which really added to it.
I mean, you know, that's what amazes me about this, right? Again, people talk about the controversy, but Marty made the decision, we're going to write these characters true to who they are, not to story. You know, we're not going to, you know, you, John, as a script doctor, you can talk about what the script's supposed to be, and we'll talk about how, you know, this could have been a cat and mouse game, but they chose not to do that. We're going to stick to how they are in real life, and we're going to show their essence. And yes, you know, for example, Jonah Hill's character is obviously a few people condensed, but at the end of the day, this is how they would act. And you know what? They are, unfortunately, despicable, and this is who they are.
Yeah. I think more than anything, they just went, look, let's not worry so much about the story. The story's there. I mean, it doesn't change because we're following the chronicle of this book. But I think that's the word. They chronicled what these people are rather than try to fit them into a story. They just said, let's just show them the way they are and let it unfold the way it does. Because normally you would have your antagonist, the FBI guy, come in sooner, and then you'd have this cat and mouse game like you said earlier, Phil, which is then you'd have Catch Me If You Can
With Leo DiCaprio.
Exactly.
And that's not what this is. They didn't want to do that. And great for them because they're messing with story and structure and having a good time doing it. And the only thing that bothered me about that was for me it left some sort of I missed some sort of dramatic device to keep the tension there, because after a while it's like, okay, all right, this is all fun and good and stuff like that, but even the excess was excessive, because I was going, okay, I get it. Do we have to show him some more coke? I mean, sure, it's fun to look at. I'm sure Stephen would agree with me. But at some point, I was like, okay, but could you move the story along? Did you guys feel that at all? Because I just wanted the story to move along, because for me it was a little repetitive in that regard.
I agree. It was a lot of partying and stuff, and I did actually kind of want to see more in the investigation of the FBI really tracking him down. Yes, to keep away from the cat and mouse, and we didn't want too much of that. But I wanted to see more of like how he really caught him, but I love the moment when they first meet on the yacht.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then when like he kicks him off the boat, he's like, I hope you enjoy your train or bus ride back to your crappy home. Yeah. But then when the FBI actually catches him at the end, he's on the bus he's on the train going back home, but he still lives his life, but he caught him in the end. And I loved how they just tied that up, because even though Jordan was really like talking down to him, but the FBI won in the end.
I mean, obviously there's an argument. What kind of victory was that? You just even from the movie perspective, you're still gonna have to take the train home.
Yeah,
look, I found a year's salary in my pocket.
Yeah, it seems a little empty for him almost. But I don't know. I mean, and again, I think they did that specifically, obviously, because that's kind of the reality of it.
I mean, for me, here's the thing: is this a movie that I could watch a second time in one screening? Probably not, to be honest.
But
the first time, I was along for the ride. You couldn't tear me away from that.
Yeah, it's interesting because we saw different screenings. I was in Westwood at a industry screening and stuff and then afterwards I had a Q&A with Thelma Schoonmaker and Leo DiCaprio, and you were at a different screening. I don't know where you were at, but my audience, the audience I was with, they were laughing throughout for the most part. But I also saw a lot of people checking their phones for the time. And so there was a lot of people.
To be fair, with industry people, it's like, okay, I got a meeting.
Clearly, I know, but again,
I saw it with people who paid to be there.
Even with that, I mean, if it wasn't that compelling of a movie, you're not looking. I'm not looking at see what time it is or how long this is going. I'm just saying. I'm just making the comment, and a lot of people feel that way. I mean, I think that's an interesting argument. You didn't feel that at all.
I did not.
Yeah. So and I was like, okay, got it, okay, great. I know it's excessive. I get it.
You know, what worked for me, and I think they made this very specific, is that you know, although there's no one antagonist, obviously it's the FBI,
Right.
and that's the looming thing overhead, but you also have the wife, and you know, and kind of their inner turmoil and things like that. It just, they fight amongst themselves and they become their own antagonist and things like that. And that's
also,
what's so funny.
Yeah. It is very funny.
And,
go ahead.
And also, this is, yes, it's Martin Scorsese, and most of his movies are really long, 2.5 to 3 hours. So we're kind of used to his style and how long he takes to tell a story and show a story. But the thing is that, yes, it was a long movie, it's 3 hours, but it didn't really feel like 3 hours because of all the partying, all the fast-paced dialogue, which I think really kept the audience still interested in the whole story that was going on. So I think the writing was really good enough to keep us hooked.
I mean, I implore you to watch a silent, black and white Japanese 3-hour movie about a wedding. And I've literally seen this. It's about a wedding, the daughter and her father, and you never see the wedding. It's just the dealings of the father and the daughter about the wedding. So, you know what I mean? For it being a 3-hour movie, I don't know. I've been exposed to them, and I think the fact that Marty, he literally is such a historian of film and things like that. I think he knows. He's seen enough silent 3-hour Japanese movies that he knows how to do it in a compelling way.
I don't think they set out to make a 3-hour movie. I think they just set out to tell their story, and they obviously edited. It was originally a 4-hour movie, and they edited it down to 3 hours. And you know, of course, the studio wanted it shorter. They even set out press releases saying it's going to be an hour and 65. Yeah, exactly, and it ended up being an hour and 80, 180. Excuse me. But what I'm saying is that they made the movie they wanted. Congratulations to them. I'm happy for them. And it just turned out to be 3 hours. I don't think they wanted it to be 3, but that's just what it is, and that's fine. I'm just saying, for me, I just didn't need it that long. I could have easily been okay with having a shorter movie. Not that it needed to be. I'm just saying.
I mean, here's the good news, right? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this happened, and I'd actually laugh. You know how there's always like the extended editions? Yeah. For the second time viewers, I think there could be a shorter edition for the people that have already seen it once. Because I'd see, if they made a 2.5 hour movie version of it, I'd see it again. Right. But can I sit through a 3-hour movie again? Probably not. I don't know. It's just a theory that I have.
That's a really good theory. I wonder if they'd do that.
Shorten it down. For the DVD.
Well, because when at the Q&A they were asking Thelma, you know, because she loved the improv on the set, and she loved the scenes that went on, and you know, she loved editing them, because she normally you don't edit, you don't get the chance to do a lot of improv editing scenes, at least in her experience. For her,
certainly not with Marty.
Yeah, exactly. So the problem with that, of course, there's continuity issues. There's all kinds of things, and scenes may go on and on and on because you know your actors are just improving. There's no set, you know, in and out. Well, that's, you know, and sometimes she just let them go because she just liked them. She liked them a lot, and you know. But for me, as I'm watching, I'm going, oh, okay, so they let that go on way longer than it needed to.
Well, that's Marty kind of did the same thing. It was funny. He did a Hollywood Reporter roundtable, and he talked about how, you know, for some of the scenes he didn't know when to yell cut, or like he almost felt out of his element. You know, because he is so strategic, from what I know him to be, you know, and he has great camera shots and things like that. And so he's almost not to the, I wouldn't call him to the Hitchcock's level, where Hitchcock was so bored by the time it came to shooting. but I feel like Marty always kind of knows where he wants to go. And with this, because it was loose in that way, you know, he almost got to just enjoy the experience more than he normally would.
He even said it added vibrancy. He liked all that, the continuity issues and the scenes would go on. He liked it because he at least in the report that I read, that vibrancy, I think was the word he used, that it brought a whole new life to the film. And I thought that was interesting. Good for him.
Does anyone know if Jonah Hill jerking off to the woman was improv?
I don't know that.
Just let him finish. Oh my goodness!
So
amazing.
And, you know, and again, I'm not trying to tell him how to edit the movie. I'm just saying, as I'm watching it, I'm going, okay, I got it. Move on. You know. And
question: how long does I couldn't find this? Does anyone know the length of the actual script?
No, I don't know. No idea.
'Cause it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
see
that would be
the
interesting.
page count.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, the page count of a script typically tells you the running time.
Running
So if
time.
it's
Roughly, it's a
120
minute a
minutes, if it's 120 minutes, it's going to be, or 120 pages equals 120 minutes.
Roughly, yeah. So who knows? I have no idea. But then again, if you have a lot of improv scenes that aren't in the script, who knows? I mean, the script could be any length, and your improv scenes are running on for 10, 12 minutes. Who knows? So,
Indeed.
Right. What else did you want to talk about in terms of the writing? You
Uh,
got any other tidbits from Terence?
Well, I mean, I guess we can get into the history versus not history, because that's part of the writing. You know, you obviously have to kind of, you're adapting a book, and again, the book, who knows how truthful that is?
Yeah,
already,
exactly, because it's coming out of this guy's mouth. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a biography; it's an autobiography, so it's going to be skewed and biased.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the book itself, the names were changed,
Right.
from real life,
Except for a few, but most of the major characters.
Mark Hanna.
Yeah.
Mark Hanna, who plays played by Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey was great in it, by the way.
Speaking of him, he said, so that scene was taken from two portions in the book, right? It's two kind of lunches combined into one, and everything except for the humming, which is an acting technique,
chest thumping,
which is an acting technique by Matthew.
Yeah.
Everything else was real.
Yeah. And I thought, they, I think Leo saw, at least the way Leo talked about it at the screening, was that he had seen Matthew Barry doing this chest thumping and this humming thing, and he's like, what the hell? And then he brings Marty, Marty, look at this. And they're seeing him do it, and then and they go, wow, that's pretty good. Let's find a place for it. Then that's how it came into the movie, is that they just saw it, thought it was great.
And it became a great little motif.
Yeah.
And to inspire his people. Let's go.
Yeah.
My warriors.
And I like the lunch scene, because it really shows how Jordan started off his career, and it just reflecting him telling you gotta jerk off twice a day,
Cocaine
you gotta
and
do
masturbation.
cocaine and all that. So it just really was the starting point to why he acted the way he did, and helped get everyone and corral people to do all the stuff that he did. So I liked how they showed where that starting point.
See, that's the thing I think I wanted more of in this. Not because I loved the chronicling of it. I thought it was great that this is what they do. I said, well, I thought that was fascinating. I also wanted to know a little bit more about why a person like that does that. Not just for the money, but what's the underlying thing. And I was hoping they'd do a little investigating on what that was all about.
I mean,
because that for me was missing. I wanted to say, how can you get into that mentality? Why does a person get into that mentality? This is crazy.
In terms of so
but it's seductive. So I wanted to see more of that, and I didn't get to see it.
In terms of this, I thought script-wise it was perfectly placed, because it obviously explained everything that they were going to do. It's fairy dust. You keep them on the roller coaster. It's all about the roller coaster, and that's what we were on, a roller coaster for the movie. Just keep them there for 3 hours. I don't know. I mean, in terms of that, to your point, John, I don't know. I felt perhaps it did that for me. Could it have gone more? Perhaps. I do want to touch on. Let me see where he eventually faced prison time.
Yes,
Mark Hanna did. He has his own version of, by the way, that kind of scene on YouTube. Yeah, definitely check it out. So he does not dispute that.
Yeah, he doesn't dispute it. Yeah.
He was convicted of stock fraud.
Yep.
And granted, Mark Hanna, he's not the ideal person to look towards to building your career, but he did establish all these principles and how to go about your job and how to pump yourself up to do your career,
so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak. But he's not the ideal worker that you want to look towards as an idol.
Well, it certainly was effective. I mean,
very effective, but not the ideal candidate.
No.
Well, it was interesting to for me at that point, it was interesting to kind of figure out, okay, how long is it going to take?
Yeah.
Jordan in the movie to get from this point of I don't do cocaine to him crashing the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you knew it was coming.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you gotta go. Like you said, that's the ride.
You're gonna go to the crash at some point. So I found that interesting. Other kind of historical things we should perhaps note. okay, so we talked about the helicopter, right?
Yeah.
The helicopter, 100% real.
Mm-hmm.
Crashing his vehicle.
There's some dispute about whether or not there was an actual monkey in the...
There's no
Yeah.
no monkeys were at the supposed.
I was trying to think of what's the significance of the monkey. Does it symbolize something?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Or was it just
all I can say is what Leo said at the thing. He was saying that somewhere along the line, somebody, I don't know if it was in the memoir or somebody had said something about a monkey being in the offices. And he got on the phone. He's on speed dial with Jordan. So he'd say, hey. So anytime a scene was coming up and he needed some extra info about what were you thinking, what was going on here, you just call him up and say, hey, we're about to do this. What was going on in your head? So I think he just called him. He goes, and if I remember correctly, he called Jordan and said, yeah, there was a monkey. Yeah. And so boom, that day they got a monkey in there and they shot it.
Well, I think it also reflects the work atmosphere that they're in. They all act
It's a
like a
circus.
bunch of animals.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That too. Absolutely.
And to be fair,
Although the fish was real.
the fish was
fish
real.
was
The
real,
swallowing
yeah.
of the fish by Jonah Hill's character, Dave.
That was absolutely. I mean, to be fair,
Dominic, excuse me.
the way they partied and so you have to not always. They're on so many drugs, so you're not going to remember everything right off the bat.
Exactly.
Mhm.
B, in that fast-paced environment, you're not going to catch everything, every small little detail.
Yeah.
The woman shaving her head for $10,000, I couldn't find if that was real.
Yeah.
But there's in.
But I wouldn't have. I mean, who would care? I mean, I wouldn't have a hard time believing it anyway. I mean, because
I wouldn't.
clearly what was going on there. So go ahead.
They said, okay, according to one of Belfort's second in command, in terms of the midgets, we never abused
Little
or
people.
threw them. We were friendly to them.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't.
Well,
I'm not exactly sure what any of that means. I think it's a very.
I mean, it's the vague statement. I don't. It's the
Exactly.
same thing. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
But so at least it hints that they were definitely
They were there.
yeah.
We just don't know what happened.
Safety first. And that's what the ironic part is anything that seems so absurd
Yeah.
actually for the most part did happen.
And a lot of it, they were saying, Leo was saying that some things that they didn't put in the movie were worse.
Yeah.
So
Here's the one thing the real Jordan has a problem with. The sell me this pen,
Right.
which I thought was a great technique
yeah,
for the movie,
it's a good device.
but he hates it because he said that's not his technique.
It's not his technique.
So he's
it's not
actually
accurate.
quite mad about
Yeah,
that.
he is, I'm sure. Again, a little artistic license. So,
Well,
yeah.
also kind of in terms of Jordan, one of the reasons why I think Jordan in real life was the way that he was because he was quite short. They say he suffered from a Napoleon complex.
Napoleonic complex, yeah. So
That kind of makes sense for the character then to actually elevate your personality.
My
Why are you
warriors.
looking at me?
Like-
Why are you looking at me? What
I
are you
don't
saying
know.
about that? So, okay.
It makes sense to watch.
Okay. So in terms of Donnie Azoff,
Yeah.
he did marry his cousin.
Yeah.
Okay, as I said, it was a
It's an
compilation.
amalgamation of characters, or so they're saying, for legal reasons.
Yes.
Let's put it
But
that way.
for the most part, based off of Danny Porush,
Yeah.
who did live in the same building
Uh-huh.
and was married to his cousin, now divorced.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So
That's good.
I didn't meet in a restaurant. I think that was one of the differences.
Oh my God. Yeah, I guess the wife had set up a dinner with them.
Yeah,
that's how they
that's how they
actually
met.
met in real life.
Mhm.
I found that interesting.
Yeah.
They did do the lemon.
Mhm.
What is it? The lemon 47.
Oh, the Quaaludes.
Yeah, but the
The
mother of
special-
Quaalude.
The special Quaalude, yeah.
Yes.
And they're denying whether or not there's actually a teen threesome involved.
That is true. They haven't.
Oh, well, we crossed the line there, so we can't say that happened because they have their standards. So,
Yes.
Well, all right. Well, let's talk about actors then, because we just started talking about Donnie, played by Jonah Hill. He's getting a lot of accolades for this. Obviously, coming off of Moneyball, now he gets this role, and he's talked about how he got the role everywhere. So I don't think that's any new. Thing
We'll
we
talk
can
about
add to
that because I have a funny story of.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Martin Scorsese, the way he says it, the first time kind of he met Jonah Hill was at the Academy Awards, when Moneyball was there.
Right.
And he just remembered seeing the back of Jonah Hill's head and just being impressed.
The back of his head?
I don't know.
All
He
right.
jokes about it. It's like a big joke between him and Jonah.
Okay.
But I guess he really wanted this role, and he told Leo, "Hey, I need to be in this movie. There's no one else."
This guy. I know this kind of guy. I know how to do this. I can play this, and and then they set up a meeting.
Well, it was the first time Jonah wanted to audition.
Yeah.
So it was the first time in 6 years he's auditioned for a role.
And they were in a room.
He had to actually earn it. But the thing with me, with Jonah Hill, because just watching him in like Superbad and all these, I have a hard time believing he can play serious adult characters. And not that his character Donnie was serious, but I can see him in this type of role, being the party animal but still sticking up for your friends and whatnot. So I like the acting on Jonah's level, but I don't think it was beyond what he could do. I think he could do better things, more serious acting if he really wants to like use his acting techniques and stuff. But I think this role was very attainable for him.
Okay.
I don't think I can't see anyone else in this movie. I mean, Chris Evans and Joseph Gordon-Levitt auditioned. It wasn't specific to what role, I don't think. I mean, it was certainly not going to be Jordan, but I can't see anyone else playing this. Just how much money you make. Just it was just so great.
Yeah, I have to say I really liked the other guys even more. I mean, I thought P.J. Byrne that did Rugrat and Kenneth Choi, is that his name? Yeah, Kenneth Choi is Chester Mang. I thought those guys were even better for me. Maybe it's just because they just had their little moments and then they moved on. But I thoroughly enjoyed them. I thought the acting was really good. Jonah, I thought I don't think I'm as hip on it as everybody else is. I thought he'd fine. I didn't think it was a huge thing, but I thought
it's just because you grew up more West Coast. I know so many of those rude guys.
So I don't
and
know
that just seemingly like you show me a paycheck for $70,000. I quit my job.
Yeah.
I quit my job.
And
What about the wife? I quit. What do you want? I quit. It's just it's very, again, it goes back to the point. It's true to real people.
Okay. All right. I'll have to defer because I grew up on West Coast. I don't meet rude people.
Fair enough. One of the more interesting facts about the movie is that it assembled 3 other prominent directors: Rob Reiner, Spike Jonze, and Jon Favreau.
There you go. That's right.
In roles.
Nice. Good point.
mean,
I thought Rob Reiner was funny. I enjoyed that. He was great.
Rob Reiner.
Just watching TV. Yeah, that was fun.
And I don't know, John, I wish they had more stories about that. I mean, those are huge guys in the directing world.
Yeah, they don't have to do this, but I mean, I'm sure if Martin calls, let's do it. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in it?
Yeah.
Seriously, you're on set. How hard could, that's a fun gig.
Going back to Jonah just real fast, that's what Jonah said, like, I'm working with my favorite director and my favorite actor.
Right.
I loved it.
He meant Leo, not himself, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking. I don't know. I don't know the man. So.
Well, he works with himself every day.
That's
twice a day, according to Matthew McConaughey.
With a lot of cocaine. So there you go. So yeah.
I liked Rob Reiner's character. He played the father, and it just goes to show his father was loud and got everyone's attention, which just reflected in his son. So I loved how they set up, like, he's just like his father in some certain ways, that they had the same characteristics.
Yeah, it was odd too, because his father's pretty much warning him all the time. It's like you can't do this, you can't do that, but he pretty much, at least I get the feeling he knows that all kinds of underhanded stuff is going on. So it doesn't warn him enough. He doesn't really get him, just like him, everybody else, they want the gravy train to keep going. Just keep the ride going. So.
Yeah, wasn't there that line like, hey, we're rich now or something?
I think, sure that, yeah.
Yeah, I forget what the exact line is, but, just their argument in the office, like, for the receipts and things like that.
Yeah.
These guys can't be reasoned with. Yeah. And it's so weird,
if I can't control Wall Street, could they be successful? Is that your point? Because
that, and also, okay, here's your father. Your father cannot control you.
No.
Your own son is telling you Dad, you have to see the snatches on these women. They're shaved, they're that. Like, it's a whole new generation. How do you be with just one woman?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what I love about the absurd. You know, it's Rob Reiner's character at no point is really a father.
Well, he's trying to be. He's trying to.
In the worst of ways.
Well, yeah, but I mean that right there tells you why Jordan was as off as he was.
Yeah.
That's who raised him.
I mean, all he had. Did you bribe an FBI agent? No. You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for me there was no actual father role.
But
in that movie.
Yeah.
It was more of a friend, companion.
Well, I mean,
in on it with him.
I would just argue that the father role, that was the best he could do as a father role, which is why Jordan is who he is. I mean, what kind of leadership, what kind of structure, what kind of parenting was there? I mean, seriously.
I mean, there was none.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
Yeah. So the excess of it all. So.
You know, I mean, one of the benefits of Jordan, to his credit, he was able to kind of do all this on his own. You know, early on, you know, he built this empire without his father.
Yeah, I mean, you got to admire it. I mean, you know.
Admire.
Well, you do. I mean, here he goes, you know, what is it, Black Thursday or whatever it was?
Black Monday.
Black Monday, thank you. And all that happens, and has nothing. Starts from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, that's the American dream right there. Rags to riches.
And Jordan was a talented spokesperson. The way he spoke and got people's attention, and how he really just can sell anything. He can sell this piece of paper and make it sound interesting. So it goes to show that even though he came from pretty much nothing, he really worked his way to the top.
Yeah, he did. And, you know, I love the little... I call it this. I don't know if they were intending it. It's this blue collar mentality. Is that okay? I'm not working on Wall Street. I'm working on what did they call them? Dime stocks, nickel stocks. I can't remember.
Penny stocks.
Thank you. I knew it was a coin. And you know, and none of the legits took them seriously, and that's why they had to do the IPO thing. They just kept trying to claw and scratch to have some sort of legitimacy. And I liked that fight. I mean, like that theme, because that again is also a very American theme. Egalitarian meritocracy. You know, I'm gonna claw my way to the top but it's in such a twisted way that I found that very fascinating.
But, you know, I found, you know, Leo talks about what drew him to this role was obviously the idea of greed and telling a story about greed. And obviously, it's not many films have been like that. Wall Street, in particular, with Gordon Gekko. But just the idea of how it's kind of evolved in history and how it's, you know, it's not just humans, it's a basic necessity almost, and that's what he liked about it. But obviously, every evil is just an otherwise good trait taken to a huge extreme.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about that controversy, because they've taken a lot of heat, meaning Leo and Martin, because they didn't do enough at the end to show that they weren't glorifying this behavior and this kind of goings on Wall Street. And they've had to take. I don't know how many times they've had to speak to it, because that's what been the big thing about. So, what did you guys think? Do you think they glorified it more than satirized it?
I'll let Marisa answer, and then I'll give my definitive answer.
Definitive, nice.
Well, personally, I thought all the prostitution and drug using, I can understand how people would do that and just have fun in their lives, but I felt like they were condoning that action and behavior. Like, once you're successful, everyone does this, or you have to do this when you're successful and stuff. And I didn't like how they portrayed that over and over and over again. They really hammered it into the audience that this is what you do, and this is how you become successful when you do this. And morally, I didn't like that, and I didn't really see their resolution to that, and how that at the end of the movie it still seemed like doing drugs was okay.
You say this is the way I don't think they're saying this is the way to be successful. It's what they're saying is this is the culture of Wall Street, because that's what it is still to this day. I mean, how many look at just how much money is spent on prostitutes, and it's true.
I don't disagree.
The World Cup is teaching prostitutes how to speak English. Why?
Wait, the World Cup is?
Yes.
You mean
in Brazil this year? Read all the articles. Why? Because
I didn't read that.
Wall Street men.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I'm just, you know.
No, I believe it. I hadn't heard that.
So to me, that's what it is. That's just the culture. I don't think they're saying, oh, hey, in order to make a lot of money and be successful, you have to sleep with a lot of women. No, that's just, you know, I mean, a lot of them, you know, even Jordan was Jewish, obviously. Donnie was Jewish and things like that. And, you know, a lot of the, how to word this? It's, when you talk about money, it's all abstract theory. You know, nothing's rooted in actuality, right? We joked about IPOs and derivatives and this. None of it makes sense to most people.
Well, and even to those who are even those on Wall Street didn't see what was going on and had no idea that this crash was going to, well, that's not true. Yeah. Many people didn't.
So when you deracinate from kind of a moral undertone, you're gonna be corrupt, and when there's that much money at stake. The point. But that's what I'm.
But that's on Wall Street. They're talking now about the art of it, you know, because he's not on Wall Street. Well, Martin is not on Wall Street. And I'm not saying I agree with the argument. I'm just trying to pose the argument because I thought they did both. I thought they did glorify it. I also thought they did satirize it. I don't think it's necessary that a film take a moral position on it. I think it's fine if you just chronicle it. I mean, it's up to us, the viewer, to decide the morality of it, ultimately. So if a filmmaker does or doesn't, I still get to decide what I want it to be.
So this is from the New Yorker, right? I'll read the full quote. So this is talking about the very, very end of the movie, right? When ironically the real Jordan presents Leo with the actor Jordan. And
presents him to the audience.
Yes, and we're about to see. We're watching the "Hey, sell me this pen" scene. It's a moment with a terrifying. This is the quote. It's a moment with a terrifying Olympian blend of compassion, disdain, and anguish. It shows a fatal lack of imagination combined with a desperate range of unfulfilled desires. The shot shows not just an audience, but the audience. Scorsese puts the film's viewer face to face with themselves, charges us with compensating for our lack of imagination and fatal ambition through contact with the vials of master manipulator.
Yeah, I think,
and we cannot. I think we just can't accept that.
I know, because everybody's still so. I mean, we all want to get ahead, so to speak. We're all somewhat greedy. We want a better life. So you can call that greed if you want. But they know what he's like. They know what he's been to jail. They know he's was he convicted of fraud or whatever the term, you know,
money laundering.
Money laundering. Beg your pardon. So they know what he is, and they still go to his seminars because he's a great motivational speaker, and they still want to learn from the guy, even though he's a convict, because they're all trying to get ahead.
But I think it was also that because when the last shot on the whole audience, it goes to show that these are normal people. Yes, we all want to get ahead in our careers, but they can learn from this guy who's been through all that and had all the ups and downs.
But you just said, I mean, Mark Hanna, he taught Jordan.
He
so
taught
now
that.
these people are going to Jordan.
But also that they know that Jordan has gone through all these. They can learn from his mistakes, and hopefully, resetting that button and having probably a better. Yeah,
you would hope that, but they didn't make that point, because in the movie you don't get for a second that those people are there because they want to learn from Jordan's mistakes. They don't care.
And that's
about
not the lecture.
Mistakes.
It's not. Hey, here's it's not Jordan Belfort. Here's the mistakes I made.
They want to know how to make money.
Yeah, sell me this pen.
But I think that's what that's why I think that argument that they didn't do enough is wrong, because they showed us as a society. We everybody that's take anybody in politics. Newt Gingrich was disgraced when he was ousted from his position, and now he's welcome on Sunday morning shows to talk about whatever politics. I mean, we do it all the time. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the big argument is. We as a society have allowed it. So if we're gonna do it, we should, rather than turn it on Martin and Leo, look in the mirror. I
mean, okay, what was one of the funnier moments in the movie to me was like, okay, we got to go to Swiss Bank.
Yes.
And I feel like in the culture sphere, everyone knows what
Swiss Bank means.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something very dirty. It's
yeah. Nobody can get to it. Nobody can touch it. They're very strict on.
And so the fact that we know about it. But we've only kind of know the surface. It just shows we're not willing to accept it. And I found those that was obviously another real life thing, and it wasn't the aunt was actually Aunt Patricia, not Aunt Emma.
Yeah, so it's a different name, but yes, his wife, aunt, was English, and she did launder money. Oh, should say she smuggled money. I don't know if you can say it's laundered money. She smuggled money to Switzerland.
Yes.
And so did his friends' in-laws.
Yeah.
So they smuggled a lot of money, apparently. So let's even talk about that. So the money. So because we just mentioned Jordan and whatever happened to him, he's now, well, at the time, and I don't know, I assume he's still a motivational speaker. I don't know, but that's
he
what
is
they said.
still, yes.
Okay. So, and he also, what's his? He served his 22 months. What else? He's supposed to pay $100 million back.
So he's supposed
restitution.
He's supposed to pay 50% of his earnings. You know, back to the victims.
Right.
What is it? The 1,000 and something victims. Let me get the real number. I think it's like 1,500.
But I think the tune is $100 million. I should say the total.
Well, based off of quote his earnings, it's he should have paid $110 million in restitution.
Right.
Because in October, okay. So
and how much has he paid?
Well, in October 2013, federal prosecutors filed a complaint that Belfort, who had an income of $1.7 million from publication of his books and blah blah blah, plus $24,000 from motivational speaking since 2007, should have paid restitution, but he has not. His argument, though, Belfort's argument, is that, for the record, I am not turning over 50% of the profits of the books and the movie, which was what the government had wanted me to do. Instead, I insisted on turning over 100% of the profits for both the book and the movie, which is to say, I am not making a single dime on any of this.
Yeah, but he hasn't paid any of it back.
Yeah, he hasn't. So, and that's, and that's a and if people are talking about that, I mean, that's controversy with the real Jordan himself, not with the movie.
No, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is that goes to, okay, that's who you're dealing with. That's who wrote the book. So the argument that, oh, is it true? Is it not true? I mean, that's the guy you're dealing with. So that's where it's coming from. So, I mean, can you really say that any of this?
And we haven't held him to this.
No.
110 million just not going to any of the
and that's the argument. That's the argument I keep going back to, is we haven't demanded that anybody that has done this kind of behavior or has been found guilty of it and has been found in court a lot to have restitution be made. We haven't demanded that of him or any of the others. So, I mean,
I don't know what this means, but according to, again, the end of this quote, my income comes from my new life, which is far better than my old one. So if there's any restitution, it's him personally.
Any redemption for him. We'll see. I mean, and again, I don't. It's hard because the system's already gamed to some degree. I mean, obviously they know how to work the system. So you're gonna get mad at a guy for figuring out how to rig the system, even though it's already gamed. So how do you do? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know.
So anyway. But getting back to how the movie portrays this, I don't know that I don't know what else they could have done, because if Martin had changed the ending in any way, that wouldn't have been truthful, because that's just what happened.
Yeah.
So then he probably would have been nailed for lying about it in some fashion, or in some way taking too many liberties.
Yeah, I mean. I feel like, in terms of story, the moment where it hit, at least my audience, was when he hit his wife, right? And then he not only does it once, he does it twice.
Right.
And at that point, in the audience's eyes, he's not redeemable at all. And then we watch him for the rest of it, and it's like, whatever. So he steals money, but he's a good, or he has fun, whatever.
Exactly,
we were on for the ride, but at that point, it became, wow, you endangered your child's life. You did a horrible act to a woman, and that's when it does become, at the end, horrifying. Of he got away with it.
See, I think that's what's masterful about it, in a sense, because the way it's written and the way it's performed by Leo. Here's a guy who's unredeemable for me from the beginning. He's just a horrible. I mean, because yes, at that point he hits his wife who's pregnant, but up until that, he's done horrible, despicable things too. But he's able to have the audience laugh at him. I mean. Clearly, they play for laughs, and he can get away with so much. Even the audience is kind of rooting for him, And for that, I'm going, wow, that's amazing that they're able to do that, because if they hadn't played it for laughs and it wasn't written as nuanced as and the performance wasn't as good as it was, he wouldn't have anybody rooting for him. But he's able to ride that line very well until that moment as you speak, because even before that I was going, why does everybody give this guy a break? He's doing horrible things to people. It's not until you see the physical thing there with his wife, because up until that he's still doing horrific things. But at that moment, then they go, oh, wait, he's the bad guy.
But again, it's abstracted in such a way, he's doing horrible things, but not to me.
Right, exactly.
Hitting a woman.
Right.
And endangering a child, that I feel for the age of most of the people in the audience,
yeah,
they can somehow relate to that.
I agree.
Whether their own child or otherwise.
Because we can even, I mean, I'm saying that's why I think it's masterful, because they did a really good job of dancing around all the things. I mean, just the car, driving the car, and you're seeing, oh, I got home fine, and it was... Then you see the reality of it. They didn't show how many people he missed. You know, they just showed the car. Had they shown how many people's lives he had put at risk by doing that, that might have been different. But they were smart, and they pulled away from that. You didn't get to see how many people he almost killed.
Yeah.
So you only got to see it until that point in the movie, which I think that's what I'm saying. I'm giving kudos to them for holding that off, for that allowed the audience to give so much leeway for us to go along the ride. Because if they had shown really how many people had lost their income, how much destitution that would have created in their lives, we wouldn't have been on for the ride as much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And I want to talk about the drugs.
Okay.
Because we're talking about acting, and
yeah.
I mean, you have to...
Acting and drugs go hand in hand, as we all know.
Well,
I'm not exactly sure that segue, but go ahead.
Well,
a lot of drugs in the movie.
So Jordan specifically coached Leo on what
the
it felt like
way to snort coke out of it.
Well, what it was like,
ass.
how to the reactions he felt from Quaaludes and things like that, and this to me is a funny little line. They snorted crushed vitamin B for the cocaine.
Okay.
The actors felt energized because of it.
Vitamin B, yeah, that would do it. Absolutely. I think that would make sense.
Oh, that's funny.
Like
to
a
me.
vitamin B shot when you're sick.
Everyone's gonna start snorting vitamin B. Why not? It's healthier than Coke.
There you go. Interesting. So,
I found that really, really funny. And I get I'm gonna butcher her name. Joanna Lumley.
Joanna Lumley, yeah.
Who plays obviously Emma
from Ab Fab fame.
This is what's so interesting to me. So you would figure Leo, being the actor that he is, he could handle the scene quite well. But the kissing between them, it took him 27 takes.
Really?
Really? I didn't
That's how
notice.
nervous he was.
Really? Wow. Okay. Interesting. Did any comment? Do we know anything about what he was thinking or feeling in that?
Maybe go ahead.
27 individual takes, or
Or
they're
maybe
all
he-
on like different
Maybe he
cameras?
just liked it so much he kept saying, "No, let me do another one. I didn't get that one right. I need another."
We'll need the DVD behind the scenes
great.
on that
It's
one.
commentary.
So I found that interesting. What else is that? Any other interesting tidbits from you guys about just
I've never
acting?
heard of Quaaludes up until today.
Wow,
Really.
really?
I'm not immersed into the
She's
drug
not into
world.
the drug culture.
So like I didn't know like what effects it had on people. So I thought it was interesting how they portray that.
Yeah, they made a big deal about it. Well, of course, it was a big deal to Jordan. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the amount. Just every place he hid coke. Remember, he cut up that couch and just had to get that. And it wasn't just you would think that he would have a small stash.
No,
This was.
Big.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Any other actors of note to you guys that we may have not talked about?
I really loved the actress who played his wife. Naomi.
Margot Robbie.
Margot.
Blake Lively and Rosie Huntington were considered for that role, but they lost out.
Okay, I've never seen Margot, but I thought she did an amazing job, and her career is gonna take off after this movie.
Yeah, but she's got to get her face fixed. I mean, she's so ugly.
The scene with her saying, "Oh, Daddy, you're not gonna get some."
That
was a real scene.
That really happened?
Yeah, because the security guys.
According
were
to Jordan, okay. Yeah. Or
well, the security guys can verify it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
wow,
they remember what it looks like.
Wow. I'm hoping you just meant what the scene looked like. But anyway, moving on. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I thought you did a fabulous job. I thought you did, and I think Kyle Chandler had the most difficult job because it's a thankless job. I mean, he barely is there, and he has to hold up that side of the film.
Yeah, and he ultimately is the one that takes him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's not much for him to do. But I thought for me, the moment when he's in the subway car on the way home, and then after he's already arrested him and putting him away and stuff like that, and it seems a little empty for him. I thought that was a really good scene because you hopefully you'd have that feeling of accomplishment. You didn't get that. I didn't get that from that scene. Did you?
I felt like yes, he has a pretty mundane life compared to Jordan, but I felt like he was content with his life, that he didn't really strive for anything else. All he did was wanted to take Jordan down, and he managed to accomplish that. So I think he'll just keep going about his career and his life every single day that he does, and he goes back home on the train.
But it's interesting.
But what it also did make me think is that that's what those people do. Those people who are there to try to protect the public, or for whatever motivation they have, they'll always be there to do their job. And at the end of the day, they're gonna go home and they'll be back the next day to do it again.
Yeah, because I don't think they're in it for the money.
They're
yes,
he
only
glory,
makes 50, 60, however they mention in the movie that he's just there to get his justice, and he got that, and that's all he really wanted.
Good point.
I don't know. It was interesting to me because I look at American Hustle and I don't know if this is a spoiler for people, but with Bradley Cooper's character, that's he kind of wanted a justice in the world, and he was so gung ho about it, and ultimately led to his demise.
Right, but yeah, he had a little more ego involved in that justice than just justice.
I know, fair enough. But then you also have a movie like Zero Dark 30, which is all about kind of justice and bringing obviously Osama bin Laden down. Spoiler, they get him.
Great.
But obviously at the end of that movie, they deal with, okay, what does that mean once you've accomplished that thing? And so it was, just examining those films, and I'm sure there's countless others, it was interesting to know how they did it. And I did feel a little bit sad for him.
I did. I to Marisa's point, though, I think that's a great point. I didn't see it then, and I wish I had. But there is something to be said for those people that just do their job day in and day out without needing the fanfare, and I don't care. It's maybe I'm assuming it's put in just to show the opposite of the Jordans, who need that that rush and that all that other stuff. And here, no, this guy's just doing his job.
Yeah, just doing his job.
So I think that was a good counterpoint. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm sorry I didn't see it.
Favorite moments?
Oh my God, I don't know. There were a lot of them. I mean, the first time I saw him snorting coke out of somebody's ass, I just went, "What?" That was a favorite only because, okay, we're here. This is what we're gonna be doing. Okay, great.
Yeah, it definitely set the tone for what the movie was going to be like.
Or the other time when he was with whatever her name was in Vegas, I can't remember her name, and he's saying the safe word, and she says, "Screw your safe word."
Yeah, Wolfie.
Wolfie, is that what it was? Whatever it was, yeah. That was kind of funny.
I thought that was interesting how Wolfie was the safe word, and then when he went back to his place, that everyone was calling him Wolfie.
Yeah, that's true. Phil brought it up earlier, I loved the counterpoint with the spinach and the cocaine, and it just cracked me up that they used it, and it made sense. It was funny.
I mean, there's so many great scenes. I love that scene because it's a chasing scene. It's a fight scene.
Yeah. Yeah, ridiculous fight scene.
They cannot function.
Yeah, because they're just messed up beyond belief. So.
And I've never seen that in a movie, I don't think, before. Yeah. For me, there's so many great scenes. I love the Matthew McConaughey scene. I think he's brilliant.
He's terrific.
But one of my favorite scenes is when he pumps. First off, I love the Steve Madden one when he introduces them.
Right.
But then the counterpoint of like, you know what? I am not a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. When was that? What was the counterpoint?
Remember, he was going to give himself up.
Oh, that. Yeah.
And so he was like, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what that make me? A hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
We stay strong.
That's right.
I'm not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was interesting about that there was he's basically selling the idea to himself.
Yeah.
And the whole speech is he goes into it with the idea that he's going to give himself up.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically has his...
He's selling himself.
Yeah, his logic is... He's just voicing his logic in his mind, and it comes to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm. That was
he's convincing himself.
And, that scene was apparently really difficult for Leo, and they actually had Leo didn't clash too much with Martin Scorsese about moments and scenes and things like that, but he was able to control the shooting schedule.
Leo was? Or Martin?
Leo.
Oh, okay.
So he collaborated with Martin mainly on, so it allowed
so he
Leo those moments of,
prepare for this and to be ready for it.
Yeah.
For certain scenes, right.
Yeah. So they got to, which is interesting when an actor gets to pick when and how he wants his moments to be filmed.
And extremely helpful. And, to some degree, if you're a smart director, so much of this rides on that performance, because if he doesn't do what he needs to do, you're not going to have the audience with you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah. So any last favorite moments?
One of my favorite scenes and moments in the movie was when he was first teaching his core group at the beginning how to sell, and just his motivation, how his speech and how to properly sell things.
When he's on the phone and they're listening, or before that?
When they're all listening, and when he just started business, and he has the script for everybody to learn, and this is how you do it. I loved how the editing in the scene, like how they cut from person to person seamlessly, so smooth, and how they all had the same speech down pat, and how they all learned how quickly and how successfully they all did that. They all grew at the same time. I love that moment, just like from everybody's. They're all kind of on the same level now.
I like that. That was great.
There was a lot of it that was fun.
Some of this pen. Hey, write down your name. I don't have a pen.
There you go. Supply and demand.
That's right.
I thought that was brilliant. All right, let's move on to the actual technique of all of this, the actual filming and things like that. This was supposed to be Martin's completely digital movie.
Yeah, not to Thelma's
completely didn't happen.
No.
Talk about that.
Oh, she was. Well, when it was originally, they were going to do it on film, I think. Is that how it was originally done?
No, they were going to shoot it digitally.
Okay. Well, you probably know it better than I do. The only thing I know is that Thelma was not happy about it being done digitally.
No, she was not. She said, obviously Martin's been an advocate of film for a very long time.
The strongest of advocates.
They did Hugo only because
they were doing 3D technology.
3D, yeah.
And by the way, let's speak to that real quick. What they did with that was they really utilized the 3D, not for the what do you call it, the contraption that it is, or the
perspectives.
Yeah, but they really wanted to. They used it as a way to show his isolation and his loneliness and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was extremely effective. So they weren't just using it for the gimmick that it is; they were using it to help tell the story. So go ahead with.
With this, obviously it was a cost thing, or not a cost thing, but
I'm sure it had something to do with it.
Something, and so she didn't want it, and she championed against it. And so ultimately, Martin ended up going with film for all the day scenes and the daytime scenes. The only time they used the Arri Lexa was at night because they didn't have to light as much.
Low light. Anytime they had low light issues, they were able to shoot in that. And also, of course, when they did the special effects scenes with the
the film. Ironically, the film contains 150 visual effects shots.
Yeah,
which I didn't. I'm sure I could count, but I didn't get.
No.
It wasn't
well. I mean, obviously the ship sinking and stuff like that. I'm sure they did all that.
And I felt that when he was at the Swiss banks, and there's the shot of him sitting in the chair, and you see the whole background behind him. I was like, that has to be doctored.
And when he was with Joanna Lumley, just kidding.
So that, I thought that was interesting. So I'm glad he didn't give up on film.
Yeah, he didn't. So.
I found that really.
But I don't think because he didn't want to do film he wanted to do film, but he didn't want to do digital. But I didn't think it hindered the movie in any way.
I didn't even notice. Like you said, 150 whatever.
I mean, it didn't affect storytelling or anything like that.
Oh no. And the decision was made. The decision to use film was actually, they did, I guess, extensive tests as you normally do, but so they did huge amounts of comparison of digital to film, and Martin was like, you got to go with film. That's how it ended up being.
Okay, there you go.
And so, by the way, the movie was shot in anamorphic, which, it's basically an aspect ratio. So whenever you see on your TV 16:9, that's the consumer way of saying widescreen, right? But there's obviously many levels of widescreen. Technically, there's like a 1.66 to 1 ratio. most movies are shot in 1.85 to 1. Anamorphic is 2.35 to 1. So meaning it's really
very wide.
it's really wide. You're seeing the whole landscape. So I found that interesting. He hasn't done that in a while.
Okay.
Do you, there was no
That's
specific reason, but do you guys want to speak why? I mean, obviously it looked good to me.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. I don't. My sophistication on that is very low.
I think it could have helped reflected the grandeur of all the partying and everything over and over again. Just make it seem grand and more.
I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, because more people, it allows you more people in that frame. I mean, you use this more for westerns, and when you want to, right? We talked about saving Mr. Banks.
Landscapes. I mean,
yeah, when you want
to Arabia, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's interesting, you know. I mean, the fact that you could, in some sense, call this a western, you know, in theory,
Wild
of like,
West.
yeah, you know, it's all about money and things like that, and people just being ruthless. But that is an interesting with the party scenes and things like that. You get more people kind of on the outskirts. So, you know what I mean? So you don't have to fit everyone in that frame. That's more kind of squarish versus rectangular. So that's a good point, Marissa.
It's all over the place.
Good point. Ironically, so for some of the party footage, right, especially at the beach house or whatever, you know, some of it was real footage.
What do you mean?
Really?
Real
Like they were
footage?
really
They had
acting that crazy.
Yeah, from 1991,
Seriously?
they had some footage.
They had footage? Wow.
They had footage from 1991.
They used archival footage of that? Wow.
Let's see.
Are you kidding me right now?
Oh, where is it? Hold
What
on.
the
Hold
heck
on.
is that?
Let me grab this.
Interesting.
You keep talking.
All right. Well, so those were fun scenes. I mean, anytime they had those big old party scenes, it was a lot of fun.
It kind of, I just had a flashback every time I saw the party scenes to Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, which also has Leonardo DiCaprio, with all the grand parties that he threw at his house. It kind of had that same feel that everyone was just going crazy and but still enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to retract my statement.
Okay.
The real-life 1991 Hamptons beach party from the film can be viewed on YouTube.
Seriously, they have it on YouTube.
Which is funny to me because remember the whole controversy with the wedding. That's an invasion of my privacy. They want my wedding videos. And now all this stuff's on YouTube, probably getting monetized.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So sorry that I misread that.
That's okay, but I'm glad
But
you brought
that's
that up
interesting.
as well.
I mean, it's amazing how a lot of the real life documentaries on YouTube now. So then people are saying that this movie isn't. They're missing the real points here and there, but it's all on YouTube.
But it's all there. You just gotta know how to
like,
find
just
it.
use that.
And as Phil says, it's monetized. You'll have to pay a little something to see it.
No, you'll just have to watch the ad.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to pay for it. You'll just watch the ad. He just makes some money off the ads. Let's see. What was interesting about the shooting? You know, they shot in New York. They shot some parts in New Jersey and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual history of the movie, they dealt a lot with Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah, having to shoot around it, so to speak. So yeah.
That was. I mean, the irony is they kept getting reports of like it's going to be over.
Yeah.
So they'd be ready on the day of, and like the hurricane's
But
still
then, of course,
going.
after it happened, they're dealing with the aftermath. I mean, I'm sure there are many more people had much more difficult things to deal with after that. But it's always hard making any movie, but having to deal around a hurricane as well.
I mean, New York's so close to Martin Scorsese's heart.
Yeah.
You know that they didn't. You know, unfortunately, on the interviews that I saw, they really got into it. But I would love to kind of, because I'm sure it affected.
Yeah,
him.
I mean,
it had to.
I don't know how it couldn't. You got family.
So, I found that interesting. What else did you learn from me? You spent time with Leo and Thelma.
I did. I spent time with them. Well, I can't remember what I already said, so I don't want to repeat myself. So if I've already said it, let me know.
We'll just hit the buzzer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, it was interesting because you don't always when you do those Q&As after you watch the movie, not everybody stays because whatever they had, And I was thinking after a 3-hour movie, how many people would stay, and most people did. You have a lot of people after 3 hours that just checked out. But then and they had interesting questions. I can't remember whoever the moderator was, but A lot of it was asking about what was real, what wasn't real, and we've already talked extensively about that, so there's not really anything new to share on that. But I more than anything, I was really interested in what Thelma was talking about in terms of the editing of it, because she doesn't get the script, at least the way it was expressed or explained to me. She doesn't always get the script of the movie, so that she can see it really with fresh eyes. So she's just getting the imagery and the story, and it's talking to her as she's trying to put it together.
She just has scene numbers.
That kind of,
these are the stuff for scene one.
Well, they didn't, they don't really get into the details about exactly what she knows and what she doesn't know. But I thought, just speaking from the editing point of view, Phil, you edited.
I've never heard of that.
Isn't that crazy? Because I'm saying, well, how do you even know where it fits in the movie? I mean, but I'm guessing she has to know something, because you're just getting information that has no context, and then or maybe maybe that's the best way to have fresh eyes, is not know anything. I don't know, but that's what was missing. That's
really, especially, I mean, if you are kind of treating it like a documentary, I mean, certainly with the amount of hours of footage you have.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that is the best way to attack it.
I know. I mean, but I'm just going, how do you try to piece that together? You don't even know where the beginning point is, and you have to figure that out. I mean,
but this, I mean, I don't know if this was a choice later on, but to start with the helicopter scene, more or less, and kind of start there, it could have been a choice by her.
Yeah.
So hey, you know what?
This
is great.
Really grabbed me, so I want to start there. I mean, that's what I wish they had spent more time on that, because or does she know, or does she get the footage? Okay, here's the first 10 minutes. And then she has to figure out what it is. Or does she? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the starting point is. They didn't get into that part.
I mean, again, as an editor, what you do have is scene numbers, right? So for the footage is marked scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at those and you're like, oh, okay, well, clearly 4 goes after 3.
Yeah. So.
But hopefully, do we know that Martin Scorsese allows his editors to have some creative input into movies?
Oh, very much
I'm
so.
sure.
Yeah,
so getting that
them,
footage,
so.
she probably had her vision that she kind of wanted to put together, and she had fun with it.
Yeah, she did. She really.
There are not enough fingers on this table to count how many times these guys have collaborated.
That's true. Yeah, and she's won 2 Academy Awards now, I think, so far. She loved editing that. I've already mentioned this, but she loved editing especially the improv scenes, and she would just let them go on, because I didn't want to ever cut them, because they were just so interesting and fascinating and funny to her. She said she was laughing so hard that her assistant would come in constantly going, "You all right? Are you all right?" She's just laughing so hard. So she enjoyed herself.
I think there are some points that she could have easily cut out, like non-beer. It's beer, but it's not. There's no alcohol in it. I think just like those little discussions. Yes, they were funny, but it's kind of repeating now and then. I'm like, you could have cut that. It could have saved you another 2 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would have been fine with it being much shorter. I mean, but like Phil, he loved it that long. So
I loved it.
So he wouldn't see it again at this length, but that's all right.
I mean, I'm just saying, maybe in time. I've seen it too recently.
Yeah, I think you might say that just because you don't have 3 hours to spare.
I mean, what's interesting, I mean, obviously what forced them to cut down at least some time was the NC-17
Yeah, because
rating.
they fought like they had an NC-17, and they fought like crazy to figure out, working very closely with the MPAA, trying to get it down to an R.
I'm still surprised they did.
I am too, because our trouble is just getting to PG-13. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is okay.
This questions what they actually cut, like how more intense and visual were.
They said only sex scenes.
It's now it's reached the record. It's created a new record because it has the F-bomb 506 times, which is a record for an American movie. A Canadian one has more, but this is an American release.
But do you think that's something that we should be proud of?
No, I'm just saying it did. I mean, it's like
I didn't even notice one.
You didn't even notice it? And didn't notice one.
Well, I didn't notice that there was 508 times that they said it. They said it a lot, but I didn't.
And there's a documentary that's American that has it's called The F Word, ironically enough, and it has, I don't know, I think over 1,000 or whatever, but that's because that's what the subject is.
I mean, this movie is rated R for sequence of strong sexual content.
Yeah, check. Yeah.
Graphic nudity.
Yeah, check.
Drug use and language throughout.
Yeah, a little bit.
And some violence.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still, in that sense, I mean,
I think it's
they only
cut
out nudity. I guess in order, the part that made it really NC-17 was the amount of nudity. But
yeah, but that's why it seems so arbitrary. It's like, are you so? One more minute of nudity would have made it an NC-17. I mean, my God, what's the parameter there?
Honestly,
And I don't care if it has an R or an NC-17 or whatever. I think it's fine, whatever they want to rate. I just think it's so arbitrary. So they cut. Oh, okay, now it's only an R. What?
I mean, the joke to me, right? PG-13 versus R. You know, one of the things is the amount of F-bombs.
Right. Exactly.
You can have one F-bomb in a PG-13. So it would have been funny to me, like, you can do 505.
Yeah.
But 506.
Yeah. You're gonna have to take that back, my friend. Yeah.
That would have been funny.
Yeah. I mean, how they come up with that, I don't know. But yeah, they had a very difficult time getting it to 3 hours and to an R rating. So
yeah, I mean, he says it's one of his longer movies that he's ever edited.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You know, and he said it's not for any particular reason. It's just
that's what I said. That's just what it came out to be. It's not like they were shooting for 3 hours. They just that's what it ended up being.
But every movie, you know, that always has, you start with more content and then you cut it down.
Yeah. And they just kept feeling that anytime they would remove stuff, it just took too much away from the movie.
I think, you know, Scorsese's at such a point in his career that you're going to go along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if this is the movie that he wanted to make, I mean, he's at an age where, you know what, regardless of what people may think, if he wants to make, you know, once I hope when I get to that point in my life, you know, and if I just want to make a movie, I want to make a movie for me.
Exactly. That's why I was saying good for him. I think it's great that he make whatever length movie you want. That's terrific. I'm just saying, as a viewer, since I'm watching it, I get to make the assessment. Yeah, you know what? I didn't need it that long. But that's okay. I don't think either one of us is right or wrong.
You guys want to talk about promotion and things like that? And
you got anything snazzy on that? I got
unfortunately,
nothing
we don't have Dimitri.
Yeah,
here.
he's usually there. He's got his thumb really on that, so he knows the pulse of all that.
You know, here's the good news. There's a lot of movies that I see, and again, the trailer can be falsified. It can sell the movie in such a way, whether funny, dramatic, whatever, and then the movie doesn't live up to it. I think we got, through all the promotion, you know, there was one originally released in June 16th.
The promo?
The first kind of trailer.
Okay.
And, you know, second one on October 29th. And both really captured the essence of what this was going to be.
I thought so too. And then I read this article that says one of the reasons why a lot of people are having difficulties with it is because the audience that, for some reason, was wanting to go to it was right-wing. And I went, what?
Really?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. But they were so upset by what they saw because they weren't prepared for it. And I went, how could that possibly be? How could you not expect the excess of Wall Street to be in here when, look at the promos.
Yeah.
How could anybody be misinformed by that?
Now, I mean, I've liked all of the Martin Scorsese movies that I've seen. I've never really had any problems with it. But I did have a problem kind of listening to this movie. Just audio.
Oh, you mean actually hearing it?
Yeah, because a lot of the scenes, Leo's character, Jordan, he's yelling. He's corralling people and getting everyone pumped and whatnot. But he's yelling at the top of his lungs, and then he's yelling to his wife at home. There was a lot of yelling scenes which I don't think was necessary. It was hard for me to listen to because it affected me, and like all this yelling wasn't necessary. I mean,
so necessary.
So necessary to film.
Phil likes yelling.
Because you know, again, it's a culture. Well, first off,
I guess he's motivating.
But it's not even that. It's, remember, you know, that's what attracted them to the whole thing. Just people, you wouldn't believe the people and what they said to each other, and the loud, right from that opening, 9 o'clock hits. Every phone goes up. You fucking cocksucker! Fuck you! You make a sale!
Yeah, but
that's the
trading.
Mentality. You know what I mean?
Trading. But it really is trading.
But here's the thing.
Yelling.
Everyone. But that's what they fell in love with. That's what attracts all these people to that. And this lifestyle, they don't know how to get away. They don't know how to turn off of it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I wanted to see more of that, because I go, what makes these people go into this and what makes them do that? I wanted to know more of that, because I think I liked. It's like it was being in a whole different world for me. It's like, I mean, I've seen it in movies before. It's not like I'm not aware of it, but I like being thrown right into it. But I just wanted more underneath about the kind of person that actually does this for real.
Yeah.
I get that. But I think you're right, though.
I found that the yelling part, it was just hard for me to, because there could have been scenes where they could have just talked at it out normally, and they're yelling at each other.
But they're not gonna guys, like, again, the amount of testosterone. I want to, you know, Marisa, thank God you've been blanketed from this world, but you know, honestly,
So
because they don't talk, they don't,
They yell.
They just scream.
because okay, they're so amped up on. You know,
Coke
all the
Coke,
drugs that they're
drugs.
on, B, the amount of pressure to, like, when you're talking about millions of dollars or whatever, yeah, it's a whole different level of greed and ambition, you know?
Yeah.
Communication.
I mean, just
Everything
even
connected.
successful people in general who aren't in the Wall Street culture, they don't have time, and, you know, they're very fast, and you got to keep up. And in this world, unfortunately, it's also combined with yelling. I mean, old Hollywood, how, you know, producers throwing at things at actors' head. I know plenty of those stories, and that's just, you know, it's unfortunately becomes a culture.
Yeah, it becomes because nobody does anything about it because they don't want to, because they're gonna get fired or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So might makes right.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the lesson.
Yeah, that was
Which is-
their
yeah, part of
lifestyle.
it.
That was their job. I just probably personally, I couldn't
Just
live
drove
in
you
that
crazy.
type of world.
Right, very not. Yeah, but I think it was very indicative, as Phil says, of that culture.
Yeah. It's, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, it added to the story, of course.
But it just was annoying to hear.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
let's talk music. Because
All right,
it's such a
you-
wide range.
Yeah, you know, I
But
again,
there was a lot of good songs that recognizable, because this movie starts in the beginning of the 80s, and
Yeah.
Well, kinda
around
his
there.
life,
Yeah,
you know,
and,
started
oh,
it.
I see what you're saying.
but like throughout that, you can hear 80s songs
Yeah.
and whatnot, and then like when he's getting older
Transitions.
and transition to 90s songs, but it still enhanced each scene and didn't really take away.
no,
from anything.
I thought the music was great. I think, and everybody that I was watching was having a ball with the music.
I'll talk on the music just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm friends with the guys who do one of the songs that's featured fairly heavily in the movie.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's I played it for the intro.
Oh, okay.
It's, they said that they've seen all the press releases, they've talked to the people who booked the music for the show, and really it's just Martin likes to choose a lot of his own music for the movies. Like, he'll hear something and be like, that really fits with this, and kind of throw that in there. So you're not going to get all this mainstream stuff. He really likes to go into like his deep things, the things that make him think. Like, have you ever listened to a song and just thought of a scene that could go with it?
Sure.
Yeah, like apparently Martin does that, writes it down, and just kind of saves it. And that's how they have no idea how he found their song or whatever, but they just contacted him for the movie, and it's been in there since.
This song would be
Mrs.
great for
Robinson?
a drug cocaine
There you go.
with monkey scene and midgets.
Yeah.
But I love the use of "Here's to You, Mrs. Robinson" when everyone's getting arrested. I thought that was really well done.
I guess let's round this out.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up.
I want to round it out with ultimately. I want to know from you guys: did Donnie give him away in the movie? Because there in real life, there's controversy about he never was wired in that way, and he the only person that he let know that he was doing something
He was the only person Jordan let know that what he was wired was not the Donnie character, or in real life Danny. It was somebody else.
Yes, it was.
So you're asking the question if Donnie gave him up.
Yeah. So okay.
Jonah Hill character.
So Belfort did not pass such a note to Paul Rush, but in his second book, Catching the Wolf of Wall Street, he claims to have done just this for his friend Dave Beale.
But your question specifically is whether or not the character of Jonah Hill portrays
Gave up
Donnie.
Jordan by giving that note to perhaps the FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what I didn't?
Well, how else are they going to get the note?
I don't know.
Who would have given it?
Do you want to get? He got him out of. He wanted $10 million. We'll get you out of jail. We'll get through this. I thought.
Yeah, until he realized the guy was wired, and he did him a solid. But I think what that showed was, it's just a matter of time. And like everybody, like rats from a sinking ship, I got to get my deal before somebody else does. So I don't know who else would have gotten him,
I mean, he was rat-like.
Yeah, well, exactly. Everybody is, when it comes time to that. And here's the thing. I just went, Jordan, you left the note there? That was his that was his undoing.
I think their clue to him giving him up is that he puts the napkin over the note again. That was the clue that they're setting it to be as if Jonah Hill gave him up. Yeah, because otherwise there's no other reason to really put the napkin over the note again.
Well, and the fact that the FBI agent has a note. The only person that has a note that we know of is Jordan, who wrote it, and then Donnie, who got it. So who else would it have been?
I don't know.
Because everything else would have been out of context. Somebody else would have seen it and said, okay, they wouldn't have known who'd written that.
It's true. Well, you're right. All right, I'm going to go with that.
So,
I know some people were asking.
Yeah, I had thought maybe the FBI, even though they did a follow-up secondary interview with Donnie afterwards and kind of found the note, that Donnie didn't necessarily give him up, portray, but the foresight that they just somehow found it and found out that Donnie was.
Well, I guess you could make the argument that anybody that stumbled across that note could have passed it on to the FBI and they did a forensic analysis of fingerprints or whatever. But the point of it for me is, everybody on a sinking ship, they're all rats. They're all going to turn to make the best deal they can. And I think when he realized that Jordan was wired, I think Donnie went, uh-oh, gives up.
And certainly a trait we saw from him earlier when remember the money exchange and the cops came.
Yeah.
I think that dialogue went long, too. I'm like, just give him the suitcase.
I know. That was one of the scenes that went
on and on. And I could tell that was Jonah.
Yeah, that was an improv scene. You could see it. I mean, even one of the reactions, but I can't remember the other actor at the moment, but it was like, he kind of laughed at it. And I go, that didn't look like that was a character.
Yeah. John Bernthal.
Thank you.
All right. Well, on that note, obviously there's so much more we could talk about this movie. But
we don't want to go on for 3 hours like the movie did. So.
Yes, we don't. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Tell us little tidbits of history if you have any. If there's any of you involved, make an anonymous account. Let us know.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's see your first-hand account of what happened on Wall Street.
Yeah, trading. Yeah. I mean, I actually have worked with traders, but not on the trading floor. But I do. I've worked with people who've worked in that industry. So it's a completely different world.
That's why she doesn't know that they yell. She didn't hear it from the 3 floors below.
All right, where do they write in?
Follow us here at Movie Anatomy on Twitter. Info at anatomyofamovie.com. Anatomyofamovie.com for all your favorite other dissections.
There you go. All right, that's it for us here. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.
Thanks for watching Anatomy of a Movie on YouTube. For more on your favorite movies, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to let us know what you think in our comment section below here. Bye.